Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. I'm Stephanie Edsall, LCSW, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. If you're new here, we are really glad you found us.
Hi, I'm Robin Green, LCSW. I'm here in Tucson, Arizona. And yes, thank you for landing here with us. Today, we're opening a new series. And before we get into anything heavy or conceptual, we want to slow down and set the tone. This series is for anyone who learned explicitly or implicitly that fear, obedience, or being quote unquote good was tied to safety, belonging, or approval in some way.
We are not here to tell you what to believe or to take anything away from what gives your life meaning.
We are here to explore what happens in the nervous system when fear gets wrapped in meaning, especially spiritually, moral, or authority-based meaning, and how that can shape the way we relate to ourselves later on.
And as always, please remember this podcast is for education, not therapy. Take what fits, leave what doesn't. You're in charge of your own pace here.
If this feels like a place you want to listen from today, you're welcome here. As we begin this series, we want to arrive in a way that doesn't require certainty, belief, or getting anything right. Let's take a moment to settle in. You don't need to close your eyes unless that feels supportive. Just notice where you are right now. Sitting, standing, walking. Feel the surface beneath you. Noticing one neutral or steady thing in your environment. There's nothing to believe in this moment, nothing to fix, just a body here, now.
Well, my dear Robin, how are you as we start this series?
I feel grounded and really also tender. I know we've talked about bringing this topic to our podcast for a bit now, and I think that this topic does touch a lot of people, including us.
Yeah, same. I agree. I have been reflecting just how often growing up I was told that fear was actually faith. That being scared but doing the thing anyway meant I was being good and obedient and reverent and aligned.
I feel like that's such a common experience, especially for people who grow up in systems where questioning didn't really feel safe. You know, where I also think that that can really lead people to ignore that internal signal of feeling safe. And for a lot of people, this showed up in those phrases like just trust or don't question or even doing it scared is what makes it right.
I had a bunch of interesting things I grew up with, just not to say that they were bad. Again, I just don't know what we don't know that we don't know. Sometimes the impact of that, like the ripple effect, is huge. The fallout, the aftermath. There's a lot of things that we had no idea would be a result of this.
Yeah. And naming something gently, that fear is a nervous system state. real faith requires some degree of safety. And many people were taught that fear meant faith. Again, just talking about how then that anxiety meant conviction.
Exactly.
Overriding that internal signal was virtuous.
And if your body said no, I mean, if you even got an opportunity to have a body, right? What are you
For
talking
sure.
about? Often we didn't realize that that's what our nervous system was trying to do. It meant not that you weren't trusting enough. It was just, yeah, your nervous system is very clever, actually, in helping us detect safety and non safety.
Exactly. And this is where the nervous system piece matters. Your nervous system doesn't understand theology, right? It understands threat, safety, power, and belonging. And when fear is framed as moral goodness, the body learns I am safest when I don't listen to myself.
And touching on it doesn't understand a lot. By what I mean is like from an analytical perspective, right? The nervous system isn't equipped that way. It's not designed. Um, so that lands super hard, you know?
hmm And it wasn't a personal failure, it was adaptive. Research on how the brain predicts threat shows us that the nervous system will often really prioritize avoiding error over seeking that truth. And so, if being wrong meant losing safety, love, or belonging, your system learned to stay tense. I think it's worth discussing, like how the nervous system will, again, like I said, prioritize belonging over truth. And so,
Yeah. Don't
question
reject me, please.
exactly. So,
Right.
questioning a belief feels like it will lead to you being like cast out,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
If I show up with like my, if they knew who I really was, right?
right. Yeah. Then your body will treat that doubt like as a life threatening emergency, I feel.
It makes a lot of sense. And imagine like the other side of that calm, real true calm could actually feel wildly unsafe. Imagine, I've just been telling my clients this last couple of weeks, imagine being in a hidey hole your whole life and then coming up to a ventral, like a regulated state. And it's like the great wide open for the very first time. I would get back down that hole so fast.
Yeah,
So it makes so much sense as to how that could be debilitating initially. And that's where the reps come in, right? That's where that repetition comes in.
for sure. Yeah. Because calm might mean you're missing something, doing something wrong, stepping out of line. And so allowing yourself to like titrate into that calm.
Yeah. We see it show up otherwise, like how it manifests, and so many other ways. I'd say even from like chronic health conditions to, well, you take it from here. What else?
Oh, chronic self doubt, over responsibility, difficulty resting, confusion, anxiety with intuition. That's such a big one. Just you doubting your intuition, that internal compass, as I say, feeling unsafe, making choices, even good ones, just uncertainty in the good.
Again, this is why people wonder why healing feels terrifying. I said to somebody, I think Thursday night, I was like, "See why people don't go? Why they kind of quit, throw in the towel?" He said, "Yes, I do."
Yes, for sure, because their nervous system learned that fear was required to be quote unquote right. And that's really not trust. It's like that's those survival skills of doubting. That's that old programming.
Yeah, and resilience isn't going to be built from survival, friends. It's going to be built with repetition. Let's pause for today's nervous system nugget.
Here's something simple but important. Fear collapses time. Trust expands it. Fear says, now or never. Don't question, act quickly. Trust even when it's challenging, creates time. Time to breathe, time to feel, time to even just reconsider. If something meaningful or right requires urgency and panic, your nervous system is being recruited, not really held or supported. And you might notice this in everyday moments, like during decisions, conversations, or moments of pressure, when you feel rushed to decide, maybe pushed to agree, or uneasy when you slow down to check in with yourself. I want you to allow yourself that permission to pause.
So, what do we do with that?
Well, we want to offer a tool that doesn't require belief, certainty, or decision making. And if it feels okay, place one hand at the center of your chest and silently say, I'm allowed to not know yet. And notice what your body does. Also, that there's no right response. And if you're open to it, say silently to yourself or out loud, I don't have to act to be safe.
Is going to work because it removes that moral urgency, that sense of urgency and rush.
Right? It's going to take away that like now or never crisis. And for many people, this is the first time their nervous system experiences safety without certainty.
That sounds like an oxymoron. Say,
Yeah,
safety without certainty.
for
Woo!
sure.
What? Hell no! I'm out. You see, friends, you're not alone. This is real. Leads us into our reflection this week. Honestly, question is, what sensations tell me I'm being rushed into alignment, rather than invited into trust?
If this episode stirred something, that makes sense. And permission to not need to resolve it today. This series will continue exploring how fear, authority, belonging, and meaning live in the body and how to gently rebuild trust with yourself.
And remember, healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride.
Thank you for listening today. Take what was helpful, set down what wasn't, and give yourself a little space to land as the episode comes to a close. More grounded conversations, science, and practical nervous system tools are on the way next week. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not therapy, does not provide medical or mental health advice, and does not create any kind of therapeutic relationship. For personalized support, please reach out to a licensed mental health professional in your area or contact your local crisis resources if you're in immediate need.